Spartan Nation, Big Ten Nation, what's happening? Q the Woodshed back in the building. Ken the Super Cool Spartan, my brother Brian the Super Mad Spartan. It's been a minute since we've been back on these podcast airways, but we are back in full effect. Our upcoming football preview for those fighting Michigan State Spartans, the football team. Got about another month or so before the season starts, and we've already gotten through the Big Ten media football days. Now we're in the football camp time, and next thing you know, those pads will be popping on the field, and everyone's going to be cheering for their respective teams, good, bad, ugly, and different. So at that time of the year, time of the summer, where both for college and for pro football, getting back into the full effect of things. So, as it stands here, Q the Woodshed doing our first football preview of those mighty or mighty less Michigan State Spartans, however you want to refer to them. But it's good to be back in the building here, Mr. Super Mad Spartan. What do you think? Your initial thoughts here as we entered the football preview of things?
Well, I feel like we've done the same preview for the last 3 years. A lot of unknowns, a lot of new faces. We don't know what's going to look like. And that was going to happen. Of course, we have a new head coach. Pat FITZGERALD took over for Jonathan Smith in the winter, fallish of 2025. And here we are now. You got the spring practice, media days last week. And you look at the roster, it's like I don't know a lot of these people. And I've been trying to do a little research, trying to get in. Once we get into the season and we start seeing the actual people who are playing and see things on actually on tape, and I'll start knowing the players a lot more, and I can talk more confidently about them. But right now, it's just a bunch of unknowns, and that's the biggest thing in Michigan State. On paper, it doesn't look good, but that's just on paper.
Yeah, if you've been following us here, all the posts we've been doing on social media, we've been doing the on-paper analysis of, the top 5 teams in the Big Ten, the bottom 5 teams in the Big Ten, and also, released our, the top 25 of college football because, those rankings, those ever popular rankings are back out where everyone can argue down about why their team should be number 1, why their team should be ranked, maybe why their team just should be not ranked. So all of those ever popular conversations about the
gotta drive those ratings at the beginning of the season.
To you, yes, gotta drive those rankings, drive them up here. But to your point, I was doing a little bit of research as well, and read that MSU has 62 new players on their roster this year. I think that may be, I don't know if it's the highest, but it's definitely up there. So I think this is probably the most unknown team that we've had in God knows how long, to be honest with you. I mean, you're talking about 62 new players, and there's very few players that are returning to the program. So, yeah, like you said, this is like a whole new team. It's probably, I compare it to like an expansion team, to be honest.
An expansion
like an
team
expansion team.
Yeah.
So as we get into
it's scary out there.
Yeah, it's scary out here in these Big Ten football streets because, you have always, the staple of the conference, the Ohio States of the world. And now, with Indiana entering,
the new world order.
right, the New World Order in the Big Ten. Who that is crazy. Indiana, Ohio State, Oregon.
Hey,
Just like
prove it on the
wow.
field.
I mean,
Legitimately.
yeah, this is the new Big Ten. Yeah, this is the the new Big Ten. So getting into it, the top questions that we've been researching and reading about, and what's out there is, of course, on the offensive side of the ball. Who's going to be the top, receivers. Defensive side of the ball. Can we get a pass rush? MSU was in like the very bottom of pass rushing in terms of only like getting 22 sacks, like for the entire year. I think that's like in the bottom three, of the Big Ten. And then cornerbacks who will be the big dog cornerbacks. MSU I think historically has been known, who can be those big ball hawks, on that side of the field, from the days of the no-fly zone with, Darquez Denard and Trey Waynes, all the
Those
way
ancient
down
times
to,
now.
yeah, yeah, those times seem very ancient. Quick point, Mr. 8-Bit, my son Ethan, your nephew, he was asking me last week actually about MSU football back in the day when they were good, because only time he's really seen MSU good was the 2021 season. So he asked me, has MSU ever been good
Yes.
historically, Dad? I said, well, yeah, about 10 to 15 years ago, yeah, MSU, they were that team, and they were the ones who were taking down, the Ohio States of the world, and surprising and popping teams in big bowl games and going to the college football playoff. I mean, when I told him that, he was shocked. Like, MSU went to the football playoff. I said, yeah, son, they did. Even though they got trucked in the playoff, they at least made it. So here we are, like a decade and a half later.
Ancient
And as I've
times.
said, as I said, we're the old Indiana team, on the football side of things. So,
Yes.
yeah, I mean, there's just so many questions. Just, there's no definites. It's all possibles and who knows what.
Yes, we're going to start with offense. Like you mentioned, the receivers, we lose our two top receivers last year. Mari Kelly's, trying to pursue a professional career in football. Nick Marsh, we talked about Indiana. He went to the New World Order. Indiana was in their squad. I'm sure he'll have a fantastic season because he's a great receiver. It sucks to lose him, but we understand why he left. And so that really only leaves us with, of a known is Krishan McCray. And he didn't really have the season
Mm-hmm.
we wanted him to have, coming from I think he got from Kent State or Toledo. I got from Toledo, big time receiver out there. You know, near the end of the season, he started to come along a lot more when the ball started getting spread around the field a little bit better. So we know we have some abilities. So we're looking
Yeah.
to see him. Uh, the next, we don't know if he's returning yet because the NCAA hasn't ruled on his waiver request for the Rodney Bullard, you know, a
Oh,
speedster. I
yeah,
think it's
that's
about
right.
Valdosta
That's
State.
right.
They requested a waiver back in January, and we're a few weeks from the season, and they haven't said if you
September
can
from
play or
the
not.
season starting.
And if you read about his story, it should be a no brainer that he should be given a waiver. But who knows of the whims of NCAA? And then
Right.
just new faces. I think it's Michigan transfer Frederick Moore, the receiving room. I believe the other young man's name was KK Smith from Notre Dame. Kind of still
Yep.
relatively new. We don't know about any of these guys. So, and then in house, still from the team, but didn't play much last season, was Charles Taplin. Yeah, Taplin. So again, New face, only had one or two catches last season. Young guy, so don't know their uh, offense still. We gotta talk about the offensive line, which I think on paper is going to be one of the better units. Knock on wood. And this might be a phrase y'all get tired of, but I need to see it. That's going to be a theme of this team. I need to see it with the O line before I can say I know they got this is from UConn, Morowski's new left tackle, Nick Sharp, offensive guard. I believe he's from South Carolina and Wake Forest. Work with our current O-line coach. Is it tobacco, something like that? Sorry. But again, our O-line has been probably, I would say, since 2015, it's been going downhill since there. And we are at the bottom of the line in terms of O-line play. And so we talked about O-line, tight ends, another unknown. We were returning a couple from last year, but
Jack Velling left. So,
well, he's trying to pursue a professional career. That's this time. Pearcheck, interesting case, was on the team last season, didn't play very much, took a red shirt, was expected to probably be in the transfer portal, ends up staying, but we don't know what we have with him. What's the other tight end? The new young guy, Jaden Savory, Ultra Lake St. Mary, had a very good catch in the beginning of the season. We'll see what we got from him. I believe Rios had a touchdown catch at the end of the season.
Yeah.
Still, it's just like it's just on and on and on and on and on. And then we get to a more of a sort of known on offense. It's QB number one, Alessio Lavojevic. I say sort of known because he only has 4 starts. The floor is yours.
Yeah. I was going to say I won't say the biggest unknown, but maybe 1B, because Alessio only had 4 starts, coming into last season. And I know that a good faction of the fan base was rooting for him. They found he was better than, Aiden Childs. I was not one of those people who said that. I still think that Aiden Childs was more so a victim of bad O-line play than his skill set. But, Alessio, he's the starter. Pat Fitzgerald said that, yeah, I see something in this kid. He's got that grit, that toughness, whatever else. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I mean, we'll see once, the pass start popping and the O-line breaks down. I mean, how is he going to respond? Is he going to get sacked, or is he going to have the moxie to, make something happen?
I'll say this. I understand we were big Aiden Childs bandwagon fans, and I do agree with you that I think more of his problems probably come from the offensive line than just his play. But also, I think in the 4 games, I saw a lot more progress from Alessio than we saw from Aiden Childs. The offense wasn't great, but it did look better. And I like both quarterbacks. To be clear, I'm rooting for both of them. I say Aiden Childs left, but I understand why he had to go. Your coach is not here anymore. The fan base is basically turned on you. We understand. And Alessio, he's very accurate, spreads the ball around. And you talk about he has toughness because he sat back there and took a lot of crazy shots. I remember that his first start, Minnesota, he had sacked 7 times and 5 in the first half. So
you're right. Completed,
like 60% of his passes.
Yeah, thanks for that reminder, because I did forget about that.
Like I said, like to be clear, like Aiden Childs, I do agree with you that he was a victim of the offensive line, but also I can say that the offense it looked slightly more coherent with Alessio back there. Um, Still some of the same issues. You couldn't run the ball, so a lot of pressure on the quarterback. Couldn't protect the quarterback, so he's constantly under pressure. But he stood back there and took shots and delivered the ball. And that was the first time you started seeing some of those players we heard about. The Jack Vellings showing up, catching passes, the
That's true.
Rashawn McCrays. You know, it seemed like, a child sometimes he got hit so much, I feel like his confidence got low and he started missing passes that we've seen him make. Like, for instance, I don't get off this soapbox and we go on with the preview. Um, the biggest kind of juxtaposition games is when we play Indiana at Indiana. We lose that game, but Aiden Childs is spinning it, completing passes, high percentage, spreading the ball around. Looked good.
Mm-hmm.
And then I believe that it was last year that next week was the Indiana game. I mean, the Michigan game. Very inaccurate in that Michigan game. Very, very inaccurate. Guys open. He just couldn't hit him. It was just like, okay, I know everything's not always perfect, but you got to be able to make that pass. And I think that was the biggest thing sometimes that led to the fan base kind of switching on Aiden Childs was the easy passes that you need to make. He wasn't consistent enough in making them. O-line or not. Unless it comes in through the short sample, I'll say short sample size, he was hitting the passes he needed to make. And so he's a known unknown still. But I believe there's something there. But we'll see. Like I said, I need to see it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and spoiler alert that we are going to see Aiden Childs as an opponent this year when Northwestern comes into Spartan Stadium. So that's going to be a very, very interesting game for both Pat FITZGERALD and for Aiden Childs.
MSU starting quarterbacks. We're seeing 3 former starters. You got Noah Kim at Eastern. Then you have Caden Hauser at Illinois. And then you said, Aiden Childs at Northwestern. So that's interesting. Interesting.
Yes, it is.
Let's go to some more unknowns. The other side of the ball, the defense.
Oh boy, yeah. That D line. Who's gonna be that star in the D line that can bust through and get those sacks like back in the day, the Shalik Calhouns and et cetera, et cetera. Answer is we don't know.
Don't know. The defensive line is very interesting. The defensive tackles on paper very thin, very thin. Only 3 people we know are for sure going to be in rotation. We have Ben Roberts, who's a pretty good defensive tackle, just health. We don't know. He missed most of last season, hurt. And then they have the defensive tackle transfer. I think it's Eli Conan. He has Big Ten starting experience, so I would assume he's going to start. He didn't transfer here for nothing. And then one of the backups for sure is going to be the redshirt freshman Derek Simmons. I think our lone or one of the 4 stars that committed to Michigan State and stayed through last season. And those are your top 3, and everything else is
mm-hmm.
I don't know who's going to rotate defensive tackle. And I'm not saying these guys are not good. I don't know. It's like I need to see it. And then you have the defensive end. I think the starter is going to be, his name is it Keenis Thompson from Weber State? Maybe. Looked all right at the defensive end.
Weber State.
Has production from a lower level. I believe those are transfers you need to look at. And then the other side, the step defensive end, the pass rusher one, Soares, he just became the Spartan. He got awarded the number 1 over the weekend. So he's your startup defensive end. And you have some returners from last year. Unknowns. Unknowns. Linebackers. Okay, we brought some guys in. We got Jordan Hall returning. We know what he's going to give us is pretty good.
Yeah.
Transfers. They see you got Brady Presloff, who was here last year, got hurt. Coming in seems to be in line to be good. There are a lot of bodies at linebacker. I'm not worried about linebacker as much. One might say it might be the strength of the defense. Maybe. But then we got to go to the defensive backs, and then I don't know. Charles Brentley comes back. I think he might take one of the nickel spot, maybe a starting cornerback. I think the guy's name is Trey Bell, Arizona State transfer. Maybe he's the other guy. Don't know. Then the safety, we have was it Nakai Martinez returning? He was hurt most of last season. He had a really good season in the year before last. But and then the depth behind them all, just very thin on paper. It's not look great. Again, on paper, not on field. We shall see. I need to see it.
Yes, that's going to be our theme this year is we got to see it. We got to see it because as I mentioned before, this has to be like the most unknown thing about MSU football in a very, very long time. And I'm going to segue into this, broski. I think the biggest unknown is the head coach. Because when we talked about Pat FITZGERALD when he first was hired, it was one of those like out of like left field things because I believe at the time when we were talking about head coaches, there was mention of I think like Mike Elko, I think who went from Duke to Texas A&M, I believe, and then talked about
Mike Elko was not ever
hot
considered for Michigan State.
Yeah, you're right.
Elko
you're
was
right,
around
but there's
after...
that talk out there.
Okay, yeah, okay. So that was never happening.
Yeah, he was one of those Texas names out there. Yeah. Yeah, there was one of those. You know how it is in the media. After, a coach gets fired, it's the ESPN spin. It's like, you talk about the coach, how it went down, how we got fired. And then the next question is, so who do you think is going to be in line for the hire, for the next coach? And
they start naming
you have those talking heads that, start naming names. Oh, yeah, there's Mike Elko and such, who's a hot coordinator. I think the offensive coordinator from Ohio State was mentioned, for the Michigan State
Brian
job.
Hartline, yeah.
So you just start throwing names. Yeah, throwing names on the dartboard out there. So as you know how the ESPN does it, they just keep mentioning it and talking about it, so till it becomes gospel.
It becomes
then
real.
They're like, oh yeah, I think we should get Brian Hartline or Mike Elko or such and such, and next thing you know, Pat FITZGERALD, like, huh? Pat FITZGERALD. So now I will say this, and I think we had talked about this after Big Ten football stuff. Oh yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, so we talked about like the coaching search, and Pat FITZGERALD's name popped up several times on that list. It was just one that I'll say this: I was not on board with the hire at first. He's here now, so I'm rooting for him. So that's neither here nor there. It's just for the profile of what I personally wanted for a Michigan State coach was somebody who is currently coaching that could bring some transfers over, because that seems to be what we've seen people have the most success from when they first they get a new team. They transfer over, they bring at least enough of their guys over to, have to teach everything over again. You have people who already know the standards. Um, so we didn't get that with Pat Fitzgerald. He's been 3 years on the sideline. I mean off season, off sidelines. Not in college football.
Right.
So that's why you see so many with 62 transfers come in. And even to be clear, even when Jonathan Smith comes up for Oregon State, excuse me, he didn't bring a lot of guys either. It was like Childs, Belling, and maybe one or two other people, and it was like and some recruits. It was like, well, recruits don't count because you don't know what you are as a college football player. But to your point,
right.
biggest unknown, Pat Fitzgerald, been out of coaching. Not
Right.
he was at the end. He was at the very beginning of the portal era, and the NIL comes up. His tenure at Northwestern did not end very well. X's and O's. So, to your point, biggest unknown. I need to see it because I think last season coaching was definitely the biggest factor in our record. Talent wise, I truly felt last
for
season
sure.
that
For
team was
sure.
a bowl
For
caliber
sure.
team, and they lost
Right.
3 or 4 games easily because of coaching decisions. And the hope is that with Pat
Right.
Fitzgerald, that he can at least clean that part up, and we can make a bowl game. Gotta see it. He seems. I've been impressed with what I've seen so far. I've heard him talk media days. He on a press conference. It's all well and good, but wins and losses when they get on that field, does the team look better? Are they more disciplined? Are they not beating themselves? Because
Right.
Michigan State can easily move from the bottom tier to lower mid tier Big Ten by not just shooting themselves in the foot. Take that first step to get off the fucking mat.
Right. And to your point, I did watch his interviews on Big Ten football media days. And he is a likable guy. I mean, personality wise, he's very likable. I could tell that the people that were interviewing him, they were glad actually to see him back in the conference. And
yes,
you could tell that Pat, he's very fired up. He definitely has, some hunger to, prove himself as well as to get MSU, off the mat. And then watching some of his clips on Instagram, those MSU football clips, courtesy of Nike. I've seen that he's brought, Mark D'Antonio to talk to the team. Ken Manny, I think, who was a former
strength and conditioning coach.
One of the former coaches, strength and conditioning coach. He's brought some of that old school, I guess. To our standards, it'd be old school coaches to talk to the team. So I think that's a good move because that era of MSU football, that's been the most successful era in our lifetime, to be honest. I mean, outside of
in our lifetime,
the 88, outside of the 88, 89 Rose Bowl team, and then prior to that, probably back in the 60s when MSU was winning national championships.
Yeah.
Those are pretty much the eras that have defined Michigan State football. So I see I see that sparkle in Pat's eye to really make something happen. It's just a matter, like you said, comes down to wins and losses. And another one I'll give you too, Brian, is the OC, Nick Sheridan, because we've talked about the OC on our podcast for a minute. So that's another unknown too. He comes from Alabama, and I don't know if he was the OC at Alabama. I can't remember or not, but I know he came from Alabama.
Yes, he was.
So he's the OC.
He was the co-offensive coordinator. So
okay.
DeBoer, when he first goes to to Alabama. He has Nick Sheridan there. That's his offensive coordinator for this first year. His second season, he goes gets his boy Ryan Grubb, who he's been with, who's followed him around to different spots to be his offensive coordinator and the play caller. So that's where we get another kind of unknown thing. Was necessarily Bama's offense is never like bad, but again, when you have like some of the best talent in coaching, I mean in college football, your offense is going to look pretty decent most of the time. But they were complaints about Nick Sheridan's, more so I feel like they complained about that quarterback, Milroe. They didn't really like him a whole lot because I thought it was pretty exciting, pretty good. But when you're not winning championships at Bama, that comes with the territory. So I think this past season,
yeah, they have a totally different standard.
Sheridan kind of helped. Yeah. So then then Ryan Grubb was the play caller, and Nick Sheridan is more like helped design the offense. So we'll see what that looks like. I've hit in the summertime football. I need that football hit, so I start going back and trying to watch some of Bama's game and see if I could see anything. Like, well, I'm not really a football mind like that. So I was like, yeah, they're blocking good, and these guys are great athletes. They're not doing anything crazy, but we shall see. And you mentioned, the OC. We have a known sort of with our defensive coordinator. Now, I'm very surprised that
Joe Rossi's still here.
Joe Rossi was retained and has been given a
I was
pass
too.
In terms of the offense. Oh, it got better. I'm like, excuse me, the defense. Like, it got better as the year went on. I was like, did it get better? Or we just started playing more ass teams? Because I remember being in a dogfight with Boston College. We were at that game. Double overtime.
Twice.
Defense couldn't pray for a stop that whole game. You played USC. Same deal. Just defense, offense showed up that game. Defense couldn't do a thing. It wasn't until Nebraska defense started showing kind of life a little bit. Then you fought the cliff versus UCLA. And then it's just like, all right, then we play some lower teams. Like, the defense looks better because I don't know. I think Rossi's on a 1-year contract because that defense has not been good.
Yeah, I agree.
Since he's been there, and it has not looked structurally sound since he's been here. There's constantly miscommunications. We talk shit about Iowa, but they're very consistent. They were a team that does not make mistakes. They're not going to beat themselves. You have to just be better than them.
Right.
Michigan State's so far from that. And with the defense specifically, just always a busted cover. Someone's always eyes pitching. You can look on the field and see guys looking around like there was always somebody who didn't know what they were supposed to be doing. And if that's consistently happened through the whole season, that has to fall on the defensive coordinator. The guy, whatever you're teaching, the guys aren't getting it. And so I think that's going to be where my ire starts at the most right now. It's going to be, what does the defense look like as a whole? And is it going to look any better? Are they going to be where they're supposed to be at?
Mm-hmm.
Are you having too many miscommunications? Just like those things. You can see I'm getting fired up about that because that's not Spartan football. We're not. Michigan State, to me, is supposed to be known as a tough football team. Even if we have lack of talent, we're supposed to be tough. You're supposed to know you play the fucking Spartans after the game. And that team hasn't looked like that in a while. It's about Q. The woodshed ain't been Q in a long time.
Yeah, buddy. Even when Mel Tucker was the coach, we had that 11-2 season. That defense was, they still generated some good plays in terms of interceptions and Sacks. I mean, they were just more timely, I would say, in getting key interceptions and sacks. But
Yes.
they weren't like the no-fly zone. I mean, by far, the no-fly zone, that's been the best defense Michigan State ever had in our era of football,
And
like
here it
20
is.
years.
I believe that 2022 was probably, or 2021 into 2022. Those are all the D'Antonio guys are fading away from the defense,
Yeah.
because that 2021 season, you forget, like we had some, some senior redshirt seniors from D'Antonio's heyday almost. So we had some guys that could make some plays. Now
Mm-hmm.
we've been searching for a pass rush ever since. I think the last like decent pass rusher we had, he got hurt in 2021, was I think like Drew Beasley or something like that. And it's like, if that's like our, oh
Yeah.
my god, Drew Beasley is like, that's our sack guy. Not to shit on Drew Beasley, but in the heyday of Michigan State, he's in your rotation as the two deep, probably the backup guy who can come on and go full bore and do that, which is an important thing. To be in the two deep is a
Mm-hmm.
very important role.
Yeah.
But we don't even have a guy now that you can even say on paper, on name, that's going to be our guy. I mean, and again, that it's just everything's unknown. Doesn't mean I think the team is garbage. I don't know, and it's hard to make predictions about things you haven't seen function yet.
Right. Totally agree with you on that. Totally agree. So, like I said, this is the most unknown season on all fronts, from the coaches to offense, who's going to be the prime time, receivers, to the defense, who's going to be those sack rushers, and who's going to be the corners, to hell, who's going to be even kicking the ball, who's going to be that prime time kicker for getting those key field goals and whatnot. I don't even know who that's going to be. So,
Got to transfer.
like
Transfer
like I
out.
said, this is like an expansion
All right, I have a
team.
question for you, Kenny.
This is going to be an expansion team. Hell, who's even going to be the water boy
All right.
on the team? We don't even know that.
All right. Here's
They
the
going to get
question.
Bobby Boucher?
Sight unseen, obviously. What unit do you think is going to be the strength of the team? Just off the top of your head. It don't have to be
Ooh,
big time. That's just what do you
boy.
think.
Boy, I wish I had like a Russian roulette table right here in front of me, because I really have no idea. Whew, boy, gun to my head. I guess I would say the offense, because at
Now I'm
least
talking
on
about what's your
offense you
big unit on
have
the offense.
some, like, what unit on the offense? The Strood.
Yeah.
Man, again, gun to my head. Gosh. That's a man. I really don't know. I like really thinking like the strength on the offense.
Just guess. All right. I give you mine,
Maybe
and this is
I guess I
because
have to say maybe the quarterback, because I've seen him. But who are you gonna throw the ball to?
that's the answer.
Yeah.
That's quarterback and unit. Yeah, that's fine. In Alessio we trust. I'm not actually mad at that. All right, I'm not mad at that at all. I think Alessio's going to be good. I'm more positive about certain aspects of the team. I just spoiler alert. I think the team will look better. I don't think the record is going to reflect them looking better. I think the amount of talent
Mm-hmm.
that we have is our talent's the issue. I do feel like Pat Fitzgerald is going to run a tight ship, and the team is going to look more buttoned up, as they say. I just
Mm-hmm.
don't. I just think the talent and the depth is so not on Big Ten level yet, even for mid tier school. That's going to be our downfall. But back to the question of what unit do I think is going to be the strength of the team? This might surprise you, and I can't believe it. Even I'm going to say it, but I was sitting here thinking about it. I think the
Oh,
offensive line might
don't say the
be
defense,
the quote
please.
unquote strength.
The offensive line? Okay.
No, no. I outside of Alessio, the defensive line, obviously the offensive line has a little bit more proven talent. The guys we got from the transfer portal
Mm-hmm.
have played big time football, and they look like solid pieces. Returning, Connor Moore. There's some talk if he might be a guard or a tackle. We'll see what the lineup looks like that first day. But then you have Ben Morowski is a big time transfer from UConn, starting left tackle Nick Sharp, OG. Mentioned him earlier in the podcast. Those guys. We got a center who was a big time transfer, supposedly really good. They got people who have power four starting experience, and I think, and I'm not to be clear, I'm not saying they're going to be great offensive line. I just think of the units right now, best guess on paper, I feel like they have the best potential on paper to be good, or the best unit for this particular
Mm-hmm.
team. It's not like I'm lowering it up, but I have to be
Okay.
very specific on my nuanced answer. To be clear, I don't think State's going to be a great football team. Hopefully they are. Rooting for that.
Oh yeah.
The hope is always there. The heart's always going to say,
Oh,
12 and
there's a
0
lot of
national
hope.
championship every
There's always a
year.
lot
The
of hope.
brain's going to be like, yeah, no. Until it hits that the dream is dead stage.
Ooh,
Keep
boy.
hope alive.
The dream is dead. Oh boy. All right, broski. We're gonna get back to our fun football fact here. It's time to stump you again this upcoming football season, and had to think of some creative questions here to for the season to see what I can do to get some more W's in this category here. So here's the question for you, as we start our venture into another football season here. As we all know, MSU starts off the season playing the good old MAC, and the first game is against Toledo. So the question here is, how many times has MSU football lost to the MAC? Have they lost to the MAC 3 times, 5 times, or 6 times? What is your final answer? And I'll say I was
B,
surprised
five
when
times.
I found out the answer to this question. So you say 5 times, and the answer is you are correct. MSU's lost to the MAC 5 times. So wow, you start off the fun football facts with a W. I'm already
With a
0 and
dub.
1. Go figure. So of those 5 losses, if you want extra credit, do you want to pick the school they've lost the most to out of those 5 losses?
Lost the most too?
Yes, out of those 5 losses, what school have they lost the most to?
I'm just going off top of the head. What, Central Michigan?
That is correct again. Yes. So out of those 5 losses, MSU's lost to CMU 3 times. The other 2 losses, now this is a surprise when I found this out. The other 2 losses are to our dad's alma mater, Western.
Western.
They've lost twice to Western.
We were there for that
So they
last
lost
CMU
this.
loss.
Yeah, that was with
We went to that game together.
what's his name? Gosh, he flamed out
Antonio Brown.
as a receiver with the Steelers. Yeah, Antonio Brown. Yeah, he was on that CMU team if I remember. That was back in one of
I think it was like
D'Antonio's
Dan
like
Lefevre.
lackluster years.
I remember that game. That was
Yeah,
D'Antonio. That was
yeah, that's it.
that's like
That was
2008,
D'Antonio took that L,
9.
something like that. It was like I
Yeah,
think we
overtime.
went
Yeah,
like
it's
six and
bad
six that
game.
year, but yeah, MSU's
Hey,
lost
six and
to
six. I take it right
CMU
now.
3 times and lost to Western twice. Oh yeah, I'd take 6 and 6 in a heartbeat.
Six and
So
six in the
good
six
job there.
potato
Wow,
bowl,
you got the
pop top bowl.
you got the main question and the extra credit. You rolling already. All right. So
I'm trying to start
boy,
the
next
season
time
with
we
a
gotta think of
dub.
even a harder
Michigan
question
State.
for you.
Take note. I'm trying to lure the
Taking notes,
Spartans on with the
baby.
victory up front.
Well, I think we've chopped it up enough here for our first edition of the football preview for Michigan State. We're going to have a couple more lined up here for you. So, as always, follow us on our social media platforms. Love to hear from you guys. We have some exciting uh, podcast content coming up for you this upcoming football season here. Definitely stay tuned. And not only we're doing, MSU football, we're going to dip our toe more into the Big Ten action. So, got some very good, exciting things coming up for you in our new season here of Cue the Woodshed, which, we were talking about this, Brian. This would be a season 4 for us coming up. We've been at this for kind of a minute
Season
now.
4, yeah.
So yeah, so we're
Dark
gonna have
times.
a whole bunch of new stuff here coming up for you guys. Yes, one of these days, the MSU football program will be very exciting that we all can talk about instead of the doldrums that we've been going through this past a half a decade now. So one day the football team will
We'll
match,
see.
our enthusiasm as MSU football fans. One
Got to
day,
get that bread in order. Start paying these guys. Come on to Michigan State. Come get this money. That's what it's really about. If Spartan
yes,
Victus is
come
going to be
get this
successful,
money. Yes,
MSU football should be successful. I think that's the biggest deal.
yes,
Soapbox before you leave.
yeah.
There's people we don't know about the NIL. I have a theory that NIL is not where it needs to be because you have teams getting better players than us in the transfer portal, and they supposedly have the same type of money as Michigan State, and that will honestly help determine how successful Pat Fitzgerald is. If the money's there, the support's there, if everybody's, to steal the term, rowing the boat in the same direction, Michigan State can be a good program again. We've seen it before.
Yeah, good point. Good point. Because they got before Jay Bat. The Batman. He took his talents to Kentucky. He got a $401 million deal from AccuSure. We don't know what's going on with that money, but case in point, that's probably
Like I
the
said,
super biggest unknown about this whole thing is the NIL. Like what's going on with the
there it
NIL?
is.
You want to play in the pond with the big dogs. I mean, you got to act like it. You want to be up there, with the Ohio States and Penn States and Oregons and even that team down the road. You got to get that money together. So, what's up with that? So we need to, yeah, we're going to start talking about that more often too. So
I
yeah,
need to
what's
see
going
that
on with that? But
money.
in the meantime, yes, yes, show me the money.
NIL
But in the
monies.
meantime, right, NIL money. So yeah, we're going to hit that really hard too as we talk about this season of football. But in the meantime, Ken, the super cool Spartan, my brother Brian, the super mad Spartan, cue the woodshed, and we are out. Go green.
Go white.